the Casual Movie Club. This is the podcast that's a club. It's two guys, two friends, watching, critiquing, and talking about movies for your listening pleasure. I'm your host, Brian, and with me, as always, is my good buddy, John.
It's me. What's up, everybody? Hello. Welcome to episode 28.
Is it 8?
It is 28.
28.
Because last week, we were here in this very same studio, in this very same room, doing episode 27.
Wow.
I know. And the next... Well, we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Brian, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing really good, John. How are you, buddy?
I am doing pretty well.
Are you doing well?
How's
your psyche?
So, it's fucked up. But let me tell you, I was trying to do the poker face. How did I do?
You did pretty well, but
okay.
There were some times where there was no holding back.
Right.
Yeah.
So this week.
Yeah. What did we watch?
Let's set everybody up. Let's set them up for the piece of cinema that we enjoyed this week.
Oh man, I kind of have an idea of where you're already going with this.
Yes.
Okay. So
we watched Requiem For A Dream from 2000, directed by Casual Movie Club regular Darren Aronofsky. And I say that because this is the second movie we've watched by him. I don't know. Have we done repeat directors? I'm sure we have.
No, I don't think so. I think this is our first repeat director.
Well, there we go. Darren Aronofsky, you are officially a Casual Movie Club regular. So... Welcome. But all are welcome, not just famous movie directors, but all are welcome in the Casual Movie Club. So if you like movies, if you like hearing people talk about movies, if you like telling other people about how much you love movies, you are a prime candidate and very welcome here in the Casual Movie Club.
So, John, I got to ask you, this was not a surprise movie last week. We both kind of looked at it and agreed upon it together, though this was a suggestion that I made based off of my experience and where it ranked on the IMDb top 100. At 88, I believe, is where it landed.
I think so.
Somewhere in there. So this is a movie that I am intimately familiar with. I saw this not long after it came out, maybe within the same year that it came out. I really enjoy this movie for a variety of reasons, which we'll get into. But since this was a movie I suggested, how did you like this movie? Did you hate it?
I'm kind of torn.
Yes.
Because there is an overwhelming majority of me that wants to say that I hated every minute of this movie.
I don't think that's unusual.
But there was also a majority, more of me wanted to say, I can appreciate this movie. Mm-hmm. So to sum up my thoughts on it, did I enjoy it? No. Would I watch it again? Hell no. Yes. Do I recommend it? Yes. So
you get a slow clap from me, brother.
Yeah. So this is... I'll cheers today.
Yeah, I'll cheers.
There you go. Yeah. So this is one of those movies that you really have to know what you're getting into when you're going to watch it.
Yeah.
Because I knew absolutely nothing about this movie going into it, except that I knew I had heard through the grapevine that it was an intense movie. It was, described as kind of a fucked up movie, but I had never really heard more than that. I just heard that it's worth a watch. It's very good, and that it's going to be a lot to take in. And I would agree 100% with that. This is not the type of movie that I enjoy watching. So, I found that it was very tedious to sit through. I saw Brian looking at his phone during the movie. And I had my laptop open because I was taking some notes, and I texted him. I was like, how much longer is this movie?
Yeah.
Because, and Brian was telling me during the movie it was split up into 3 acts. I was done in the middle of the first act, but I did enjoy seeing where it went, but it really didn't pull me in because this is not my type of movie.
Right.
So I have a solid appreciation for this as an artistic piece. So I have respect for it. I have appreciation for it being a solid work of cinema. Does it meet with my tastes as a movie? Absolutely not. So it's not something that I find myself adding to my movie library. I'm not going to watch it again. I feel like I'm good after having seen it, but it's worth a watch if you haven't seen it.
Do you feel like you need a shower?
Yes, I need more than that, honestly.
Yeah, like a day of just you time, meditation.
I need
turn my brain off.
like an enema after watching this. Like I need cleaning from every orifice. Like I need to go to the dentist. I need an enema. I just need to be cleaned out after seeing this movie.
So we discussed this movie last week at the end of last week's episode, Whiplash.
Would you have ever thought I would describe needing an enema after watching a movie?
Never, actually. I
honestly didn't even think I was going to say it until it came out of my mouth.
I was trying to play it off, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to deter you from it.
Hey, but, I mean, an enema, a colonic, whatever you want to call it. I mean, sometimes some people, I'm not into that kind of thing as far as doing it regularly, but some people find it very liberating and very cleansing. But I need to be cleaned of every kind of impurity that I've experienced after watching this movie.
It's one of those kind of movies, and this is.
But to start, yes, I would love a shower.
There is there's not a lot of movies like this. There are other movies like this. There's not a lot of them, though. This is probably the most accessible of those, and it's kind of artsy at a lot of points.
Yeah.
And then it kind of falls away. The artsiness falls away from it a little bit.
So being that this is so artsy, and I'm sorry to cut you off. If you were, and I think I know the answer to this, but if you were stuck on a desert island and you had a choice between Requiem for a Dream and Persona as being artsy films that you're stuck with one of them, which one would you pick? Because I think you're going to be surprised at which one I pick.
I think I will be surprised. I think that I would pick this film, Requiem. Would you pick Persona?
I would pick this movie also.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not surprised by that. Okay, because I
like this better than Persona.
Yeah. Of course. We talked about this last week. You mentioned that you've got some other feedback. Did you talk to anybody else about this movie just to get a little bit of background?
No.
Or you just did okay. So this is again. I didn't want to give you a lot of background when we talked about it, both on mic and off mic. Mm-hmm. But this was. I agree with your assessment of how it kind of is tedious. It's very slow at parts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stylistic decisions that were made by the director.
Yeah.
I forget what he calls them, but there are little interludes or little scenes that signify something that's happening, and it's typically drugs being taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all forms of drugs, illicit and legal drugs like coffee.
Right, and I kind of liked it until it became a little excessive.
They were beating you over the head with the fact that these people were taking drugs, and I think it would have diminished what he was trying to do if he deviated from doing that little rap scene, that little interlude every time a drug was taken.
Yeah, but one thing, and you mentioned
consistency.
this too.
Consistency.
Yeah, but you mentioned this. Those scenes they seem to occur at random times. Like for example, when Harry was in the back of the cab, and then they stuck this little scene in there as if he had shot up in the back of the cab. And he clearly didn't.
Well, that's the only instance where I take issue with that. There's one instance where the three of them marry, and by the way, we're assuming everyone is has seen this film or familiar with it, so spoilers abound. We're going to be jumping all over the place.
Spoilers are not a new feature on Casual.
They're not a new feature.
No.
There's a scene where Harry, Ty, and Marion are sitting around a table, and Marion's like, "You guys want to waste some time?" And then they do the drug interlude where Marion takes they all take Adderall, and then they all just kind of dance around. But in the background, they're all the scene cuts, and then it's during a house party. People come over, they're dancing, everything's in fast forward motion, everything's high speed. But the conversation is still going on in the background, and it's the conversation that they're having around the same table where they wasted some time, initiated the drug taking scene. Yeah. So there's some. It's used as a storytelling device as well, which every time it happened. Except for 2 times, I appreciated it. Or actually, just 1 time, and that's the cab scene. Yeah. And the cab scene is when Harry goes to visit his mom. It's
right after he visits his mom.
Yes.
I thought.
Yeah. You're right. He visits his mom. They have the whole conversation, the argument, which is.
And I want to come back to that.
I do want to come back to that. Yes. Also. So then Harry is just totally affected by his mom's state of mind and her physical well-being, and he gets in the cab to drive home, and he's crying and he's really upset, and then they do the drug rap, the interlude or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's calm. Fine. And I appreciate what they were trying to do, saying, oh well, he's upset, he takes drugs, he's calmed down, he's zoned out, he's not affected anymore. I appreciate that, but it was shoehorned in to make that point.
Right, and there was no evidence before or afterwards that that's what he actually did. It was almost like, it was, this is just me spitballing here, but it almost feels like he was thinking about taking drugs, and then he felt better after having thought about taking drugs because there was nothing visual showing us that he was shooting up or taking a pill or doing anything to give him that high and stuff. But the little 3-second interlude of shots of him
shooting up
would not have made sense in the back of a cab. So I don't know, but I want to go back to the scene with him and his mom in her apartment when he kind of sees her, because she, for those unaware, she is. She's a stay-at-home mom. She doesn't do anything except sit in front of the TV and watch what seems to be the same infomercial over and over again.
It's like a Tony Robbins motivation.
Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore is up on stage and he's like, juice this and blah, blah, blah. And was it Just Unite? What was JUICE? What was the acronym?
Join us in creating excellence.
Okay. That's...
Tappy Tibbins is the character's name.
Totally Tony Robbins-esque, self-help kind of shit. She watches. It seems like that's the only thing she watches. Which, by the way, the new TV that Harry buys her is complete overkill for what she watches. Just
I know.
As an aside, but that scene, there's been a few times in a few movies where I see a performance by an actor or actress that just makes me fall in love with them as an actress, and I absolutely 100% loved her performance during that scene where she was like, I just want to be important, I'm all alone, that delivery, and that was clearly Oscar worthy, and she was nominated for Best Actress, by the way, for this movie. That was an incredible performance of that, because she was basically pouring her soul out to her son, saying that, her husband has died, her son has moved out, she's all alone. She got, notified that she's going to be on TV, so she's looking forward to losing weight and getting into this red dress. So she's kind of she has different priorities of things that she wants to do to improve her life, kind of give her a reason to smile, a reason to wake up in the morning and everything. But that whole performance by that actress, it was Ellen
Burstyn.
Burstyn, yeah, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
I love that. Yeah, her maintaining her jitteriness because she's still on the pills, the chattering, grinding of her teeth, but also keeping the quaking and the emotion in her voice. When her voice cracks when she says, "I'm old." It killed me.
Yeah.
That scene was incredible. Another scene I wanted to call out was when she was on the train. She was off the train. She was at the TV, quote unquote TV station. Who knows where the hell she was, by the way. She could have been anywhere thinking that it was a TV station, but she was talking to the receptionist. "Oh, I'm going to be on TV. When are you going to put me on TV? Just tell me." And then they tell her to calm down. They give her a cup of coffee, and they ask her again why she's there. And that little monologue, like, "Oh my God, like, I'm here. Call Seymour," her dead husband.
Right.
"Call Seymour. Tell Harry I've got the gold shoes."
Yeah.
And the paramedics come and they say, "Okay, we're gonna go now. Can you walk?"
Yeah.
And she says, "I'm walking across the stage."
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. She should have gotten the Oscar for that. I didn't do any internet research. I didn't know what other movies she was up against for that nomination for 2000, but she should have gotten it.
Oh my God. I can't imagine who beat her out. That was incredible.
I'm going to look, actually.
Go ahead
and keep talking. I'm going to look.
You go ahead and look that up. So this movie is incredible. The acting performances are all fantastic. John and I are gushing over Ellen Burstyn, but Jared Leto is phenomenal. I think this is one of his earlier roles, maybe a year after Fight Club. He's fantastic. I want to get your opinion on his New York accent when you get a minute, but Jennifer Connelly, phenomenal. Her descent into just addiction and the lengths that she goes just to maintain her habit. It's just it's all heartbreaking.
Wait a minute. So hold on a second, because this is, maybe it's 2001. Hold on a second, because I wasn't seeing her showing up in there. But let me look at 2001. Actress in the leading role.
She's a lead.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was 2001 Oscars.
Okay. It was probably
came out in 2000. Yeah. So 2001 Oscars, the winner for actress in a leading role was Julia Roberts and Erin Brockovich.
Ooh, that's tough.
But other nominees were Joan Allen for The Contender, Juliette Binoche for Chocolat, Ellen Burstyn for Requiem for a Dream, Laura Linney for You Can Count on Me. So
Erin Brockovich was really good, though.
We may need to watch Erin Brockovich at some point.
I am all in on Erin Brockovich.
I think I've never seen Ellen Brockovich, so I can't say for sure, but man, Ellen Burstyn, she deserved that nomination 110%.
Compared to Erin Brockovich, the performance that Ellen Burstyn made was stronger.
Yeah.
I think Erin Brockovich could only take it because the story of Erin Brockovich, the film, is focused primarily on Erin Brockovich.
Yeah.
On Julia Roberts. So Julia Roberts absolutely carried that movie.
And she had way more screen time.
Way more screen time. Absolutely.
You've seen the movie?
I have, yes.
Okay.
I love that movie. I absolutely recommend that we do that at some point.
Okay.
But I mean, all of the performances were very strong in my opinion. Marlon Wayans, oh my God!
I was really impressed.
Yeah,
I was very impressed with Marlon Wayans.
Now I wanted to ask you, out of everyone, who do you think wound up with the best outcome? Like, everybody's fucked up at the end. Everybody's fucked up. But who do you think is going to come out the best?
That's a great move. That's a great question. And do you have an answer for this question?
I do.
Okay, because I want to hear what you think. So to sum up, before I answer this, Sarah Goldfarb is in prison or in a mental institution.
Yeah, a psych ward.
Harry and what was the
Ty?
Harry and Ty are in prison. Marion is basically, she's out in the free world, but she's basically prostituting for drugs.
Yeah, and yes.
So those are the four people, right?
Yes.
Okay. So who do I think is in the best situation? It's a tough question because, Sarah Goldfarb we don't know why she's completely mentally gone. We don't know why, whether it's just her shutting down, or was her mind screwed up from all the drugs that she took, the uppers and stuff that the doctor gave her, the air quotes doctor gave her, or, just her situation. Did she kind of just have a mental breakdown? My initial reaction, I want to say Marion, because she's still out in the free world, but she's having sex for drugs. So she's prostituting herself. So, we don't know if that's a good thing or not. As crazy as this sounds, I'm probably going to have to say those that are in the best situation, I'm going to have to say are T and Harry, who are in prison.
Right, and that's about where my answer lies. Sarah Goldfarb there's no recovering. She is too far gone from the drugs and from the electroshock therapy. There's no... That's the saddest story of the four, in my opinion. That's the most heart-wrenching. The one that I not related to, but empathized with the most. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Her whole scene, not to keep beating a dead horse, but her whole scene where she did that monologue about just wanting, her being alone and wanting to be somebody and wanting to be loved and everything, that hit me.
It's a reason
that hit me because I could relate to a lot of that. So
why do I make the bed? I don't have to make the bed. Why do I do the dishes? I don't need to do the dishes. I don't have anybody to care for.
Yeah.
You're here. My husband's dead. You're here, but you don't visit me. You've got your own life to do.
Right.
You moved. You don't need me to care for you. So why would you hang around? Why would you visit me?
Right.
Oh, but you got friends. It's not the same.
Right.
They don't need me.
Yeah.
So the TV and the red dress, it's a reason to smile. It's so heartbreaking.
It really is.
So
it really is.
I think she is the worst off out of anybody of the four.
I would agree.
A very close
because
second.
She has nobody. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but she has nobody to help her. She's literally on her own. Whereas Marion kind of still sort of has Harry and Ty.
I don't think so.
Well, they know each other. But they were together at one point. She literally is alone except for the gaggle of old ladies that live in the apartment building that suntan out on the front.
Oh, you're talking about Sarah still. I thought you were talking about.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm
back
sorry.
And forth, but Sarah is literally alone.
Yes.
Whereas, I guess you're right. I guess the others are still kind of on their own too, but at least Ty and Harry have each other, but that only goes so far.
Well, Marion, I think, is a close second to Sarah, because she's out, she has her freedom, but she's hooking now, and not to say that through some chance encounter, fluke, miracle, moment of clarity, strength of will, whatever, she could break free of that.
Right.
She now has a steady supply of drugs, which that's what she wanted.
Right.
And that is stronger than the strength of her relationship, which failed.
Yeah.
And every other relationship she has, as of this point forward, her parents cut her off. The psychiatrist is not going to be with her anymore after this.
Right.
Psychiatrist was only with her because, she was a former patient.
Right.
And all that aside, I don't think Marion's going to form any meaningful relationship. She's stuck.
Yeah.
She is stuck there. I don't think she's going to redeem herself.
No,
she's going to become a regular in the Big Tim scene,
right?
The sex club scene,
right? Because the only thing she can do to get drugs is be a hooker,
and it's the easiest thing in the world for her.
Yeah,
and it's not what she wants,
right?
But that's the situation she's in
right
now. A distant third place rather is Harry.
Yeah.
Harry's in prison. He's got his arm cut off, though.
Right.
And he doesn't have his mother. He doesn't have Marion, but he's in prison, and that's really not a bad place to be if you're trying to get clean.
Right.
So, and that leads me to the person who has it best off is Ty.
Yeah.
I think Ty is the clear winner if we're making this into some sick, fucked up contest.
Yeah.
Ty is the clear winner because he still has all of his extremities. He's being put to work every day.
Right.
He's going to get clean faster than Harry, who is probably going to be on painkillers for the next 6 months to who knows how long.
Good point.
With the amputated arm.
Yeah.
So I'm saying Ty has the most potential to get himself clean, get out of jail, and then straighten his life out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. What a fucked up movie, dude.
Yeah. What
I was excited. I was almost giddy. It was hard for me to keep a poker face waiting for the second act. Because once the second act came, I told you all 3 acts are vastly different.
They are.
And they lose... excuse me. They lose a lot of the idiosyncrasies that Darren Aronofsky introduced in the first half.
Yeah.
The sound effects.
Yeah.
The camera cuts and angles. The little rap scenes. The little montages. The drug montages.
Right.
They lose that more and more as the seasons progress.
And I'm okay with that.
Yes, I think that's the point.
Yeah, I'm okay with that because
things get chaotic.
Right, they get chaotic, but also, like you said earlier, they kind of beat you over the head with it. And I think we've been beaten over as viewers, outsiders of this movie. Outsiders looking in, watching this movie. We've already gotten beaten to death with that enough. Does that make sense?
Yes. What other notes do you have? Because I looked. There's a lot of trivia we can go through, but I don't really. What do you have?
I mean, the only other thing is, and this is not huge, I don't think, but kind of the definition of the word requiem. Like a requiem is like a song. And I kind of looked into it a little bit more.
It's like a dirge. It's like a funeral song.
A funeral song. So like the name of the movie is like a funeral song for a dream, like a death of a dream.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's because you could see, and I could see that. It took me a while to be able to see kind of why they called it that. But again, I totally see it now that I've seen the whole movie. Because you could see how they have these big dreams that get shattered as a result of their addictions.
Yes.
And it's not just a drug addiction. It's, it's Sarah Goldfarb's addiction to being on TV and her addiction to weight loss pills and that sort of thing. And it's, it's Harry's and Ty's addiction to, smoking drugs, heroin or whatever it is, and trying to do that. Because they want to open shops and like live on easy, not have to struggle to. Right.
Yeah, they want to be financially secure.
Right. Exactly. So,
and they were there. They were there at the end of summer. They were absolutely there, and then they fucked it all up.
Right. Yeah. So, it's an expertly done movie. Again, not my cup of tea, but it's an expertly done movie.
Yeah.
Do you want to do some numbers?
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about numbers because coming into this, I had an idea of where my numbers would be.
Yep.
And then as we watched the movie, they shifted. And they shifted away from where I thought they would be. And then as the movie ended, they shifted again, but really only slightly.
Interesting.
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm interested in hearing where you landed on the numbers. So speaking of numbers, what do we mean by numbers? We have several ratings that we do here on the Casual Movie Club. We watch a film and then we rate a movie based off of a few criteria. One of them is acting. How well did the actors do? How well did they convey their characters? The next category is script. How well was the script written? How was the dialogue? How was the transition from scene to scene, area to area? Next was presentation. This is usually effects. This is usually camera angles, makeup. It's typically the total package. How was the film presented? Music and sound is pretty self-explanatory. How did you feel about the sound mixing, the Foley, the score, the incidental music, all those things?
The goodies for your ears.
Goodies for your ears.
I just have to put that in there.
The next category is uniqueness. Based off of the time this film came out, up to that point in time, how unique was this film? How revolutionary was this film compared to its peers? And finally, the engagement factor. How engaged were you in the film? Would you find yourself looking for your phone? Was your mind wandering? How engaged were you in the film? So with the categories laid out in front of us here, I want to start off with acting. I started off with a higher score, and then I went to a really, really low score near the end of the first act. And then as the film went on, it shifted up slightly. The accent in particular, I wanted to ask you about this. I'm going to give my score, and then as you go in acting, I'd like for you to address how you felt about Jared Leto's New York, Coney Island, Brooklyn accent. That aside, all of the performances were fantastic, but as a whole, I'd score the acting as a 3.5.
A 3.5?
3.5.
That sounds very low.
It was lower. It shifted up.
Really?
It was, yes.
Wow. Okay. So to answer your question, before I give my rating for acting, I think his his Brooklyn accent or his New York accent was very good. It was very convincing. I don't think it was overdone by any means, but I think that I really want to score this movie higher in the acting department, mainly because of the performances by people like Ellen Burstyn, because of how consistent her performance was, and because of how, she
really carried the film. She really did.
She did. And I think I've said this on other episodes, but I like to do my rating for acting based on whether I feel like I'm watching an actor doing a job or someone that is the part they're playing. And I felt like Sarah Goldfarb, Ellen, I can't keep... Burstyn. Ellen Burstyn was
bursting with talent.
Right, she was bursting with talent, absolutely. So, initially I wanted to give the acting a 5 straight away, but I can see that there were other aspects of the acting that I did feel like didn't hit a perfect mark. So, for me, for acting, I'm going with a 4.5. 4.25, we're going to say, for the acting. That doesn't count as a take backsies, by the way. 4.25 for the acting, because Ellen Burstyn really was one of the reasons I wanted to get through the whole movie and see how she did, and just see, what happened to her. I felt like I related the most to her as a character, but
right.
The acting was very good, just for the entirety of the movie.
Can I do a take backsies right now?
You sure can.
I'm gonna bump mine up to a 4 even.
Cool.
4 even. I sometimes I feel, in hindsight, I'm a little too nitpicky.
I would agree with
that. Sometimes I'm a little too hard on things. I'm gonna bump the acting up to a 4.
Okay. All right. So the script, the writing, the quality and the caliber of the writing. I feel like this goes very closely with the acting.
I think so too.
Because, someone had to, did Darren Aronofsky write this as well, or did he just direct it?
He adapted this.
Okay.
This is not an original screenplay. This is an adapted from a book.
Okay.
I believe it's I'm gonna fuck this up. I believe it's a book from the 1920s or 30s.
Interesting.
Called Last Exit.
Okay.
Last Exit in Brooklyn.
Okay. So the reason I say that is the brilliant acting that we saw was fueled by brilliant writing. And I feel like there were elements of the writing that were really, really, really brilliant and on par. And then there were some things that I think we could have done without. So I was really torn between, do I want to go high on the script? Do I want to go low on the script? I was really torn. And for some reason, I find myself wanting to give the script just a solid 4. Because I think it wasn't perfect. It wasn't middle of the road. I think it was slightly better than middle of the road, but it wasn't like it's a 4, but I wanted it to be lower, but I didn't feel right to be lower, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. The script typically rates higher than acting, though I feel it goes hand in hand with acting a lot of times, like what you said earlier. There are lines of dialogue that really, really jumped out at me as out of place, and I think that's why I originally shifted up only slightly to a 3.5. I took that back to a 4 in acting, but things like "You're a croaker for speed" or "You're not pasma," and things like, it was just, some of the language felt out of time.
Yeah.
And it was like slang language. So, and those are really the only things that I could really take off marks for. The script all the way around, otherwise, is a solid 4 in my estimation. I'm scoring it a 4.
Okay, cool. And while you're in the hot seat for scoring, why don't you go ahead and give us your score for presentation? What did you think of the visual element of things?
Visually, man, the film does so well with the camera. There is something called a snorri cam. Do you remember when Marlon Wayans was running down, Ty was running down the alley after the hit?
It's almost like he was wearing a camera.
He was wearing the camera.
Yeah, and I know there were a few scenes where Sarah Goldfarb was wearing a camera too.
So was Jennifer Connelly. So was Marion when she was leaving the apartment.
Yeah.
After her psychiatrist, after the first time she had sex with him for money.
Right.
She's wearing that camera. Also, all of that was really well done. The quick cuts in the interludes, the drug taking little segments.
Yep.
That was fantastic. The very end sequence where everyone's going through the worst. They're hitting rock bottom in the movie.
Right.
Marion's at the sex party. Harry is being wheeled through the hospital. Ty is doing the mashed potato, not the dance move, but he's actually literally mashing mashed potato.
Yeah.
The electric shock therapy. It was all cut between each of those things, and I crescendoed into just white, blinding pain, and it was so fucking well done.
Yeah,
I loved it. The makeup was great.
The makeup was very good.
The makeup was really great. The wigs, the hair, it was all well done.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to give this a perfect score because it feels perfect, but I don't think it is perfect just based off of everything else that I don't know. I don't know. I'll give the presentation a 4.5.
Okay.
I don't know if it almost doesn't feel fair because I feel like it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
But just based off of everything else we've seen, everything else on the list, is it a 4.5? Probably. I don't know. My gut says 4.5 presentation. Final answer.
Okay. Well, you've already used your take backsies also.
Fuck, I did.
Yeah.
I think I was well used though.
Yeah, I would agree. So for me, presentation, I'm actually taking off a little bit for some of those things that were just a little bit too abrupt. There was like those drug things, that the little drug cut-ins that they had where they would just splice those in as they were doing things. But there were other times where they would have like they would have the video sped up. They would do a lot of rapid cuts. They would do almost some visual effects on there where it kind of made the screen look a little shaky or something. So I think that they did a great job with transporting the viewer kind of into the mind of these addicts and sort of highlighting the temptations that they were having. And as someone who's battled with stuff myself, I mean, I could understand how that presentation was correlating to those various individuals' addictions and their temptations. So, I really liked it. Did I completely agree with all the cuts and everything? Not necessarily. I'm going to give it a 4.25 just because I do appreciate what they were doing with it and sort of the artistic benefit to why they did that. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. So music and sound, my favorite area here. I really did not have a lot of... Okay, I didn't have a lot of issues with this. My biggest issue, and the reason I'm kind of taking points off, is they kept reusing the same piece of music over and over again. And I really didn't care for that. Because I had mentioned to you that the opening theme sounded very familiar, and you said it was kind of a famous piece. I feel like that was the only piece of score that they reused throughout the entire movie. And I found that to be a little distracting. I would have rather hear more original music throughout the movie to supplement what was going on screen. So for that reason, I'm giving the music and sound a 3.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that this piece of music was, to my knowledge, was written for this. Like this was written by the Kronos Quartet specifically for this film, and each individual character had their own theme.
Yeah.
Their own theme was a variation on the overarching theme of the, I don't know, da-na, da-na-na-na,
yeah,
da-na-na-na.
it was just all way too similar for me.
Yeah, I disagree. You've got a better ear for music being an audio engineer than I do. Maybe it's because I've seen this so many times. Maybe because I'm so into it, but I could hear the differences between the characters when each was having their moment in the foreground. It felt very much like a play to me, whereas we're watching a film, of course,
right.
but each character was interacting with the other and interacting with the audience in a way, not breaking the fourth wall or anything like that,
right.
but interacting with the audience by way of the score. So, and this, even though this score is as popular and famous as it is, it's used in commercials, it's used in movies and TV shows
right.
to this day. It was still written for this film, and it's very impactful. And for that, I give the music and sound a 4.5.
Interesting. Okay, what do you want to give uniqueness? As far as the uniqueness of the movie, has this type of thing been done before?
Well, yes, and it is unique. It's very, very unique, but it's also an indie art house flick.
Right.
So there are similarities to other movies. It's very thematic. Each character has their own themes, their own things they're going through. You can make parallels to American Beauty. It you can.
Well, and this also used which we saw in Persona a few times. Not to keep bringing up the same movie, but this, I feel like this is very similar to Persona, in that there were those sort of little cuts in here and there that kind of just meant to shock the user in a way.
Well, yes and no. Well, now, while this movie didn't revolutionize that type of filmmaking,
right.
It did modernize that in a way that was used by other movies later on down the line, like Memento, or maybe I don't know. This movie deals with addiction in a way that I've never seen before.
Right.
Though it does have other similarities with other movies that came out in the late 90s, mid 2000s.
Yeah.
So it feels very unique, but it doesn't feel 5 worthy.
Okay.
So I'm going to give the uniqueness a 4.
Okay. I'm gonna echo that, actually. I feel like I want to give uniqueness a 4 as well, because this is not the only movie to kind of chronicle lives of people in New York. There was a movie called Kids that came out in 1995.
Oh, I fucking love Kids.
It's a screwed up movie just like this one, and it's very similar, where it just kind of follows different people around New York and kind of how they deal with things and stuff. So it's not the first time we've seen stuff like that. So I'm just going to give it a 4 along with what you're doing, because with what you said, because I feel like it's not the most unique thing on the planet, but the artistically beautiful way the story was told and shot and that sort of thing does make it kind of stand on its own.
I've never thought of the Kids parallel before. That's very insightful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Now, engagement factor. I'm not going to be as generous here, because I was not kept engaged during this whole movie. I was on my computer. I was on Amazon for a while. I was on Twitter for a while, and I texted Brian a few times from my computer. So I was definitely checking in and out, because this is not my type of movie. It's not something I would kind of choose to watch. I watched it for this podcast, and I'm glad I did. I want to make sure I make that clear. I did enjoy sort of the experience of watching it. I'm good. I don't need to watch it again. Was I engaged during it? I was engaged enough to give it more than a 3, but I was not engaged to give it more than a 3.5. So 3.25 for engagement factor for me.
Now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people echo that sentiment. I've seen it. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah.
And your engagement factor is interesting to me. When after the first act, when things were obviously picking up,
Yeah.
Were you anticipating any kind of happy ending?
I didn't know what was it. Honestly,
It's different. It's a difficult question, because this is a off the wall movie,
right? And I didn't know where this movie was going, so I didn't know if it was. I mean, I was expecting it to just end abruptly with something happening. I mean, I didn't even know whether it was going to go in a happy direction, in a sad direction, or just stop.
Yeah.
I literally had no idea where it was going.
Right.
So I kind of lost interest in wanting to see where it was going as things were sort of progressing.
Well, also let me add this. As things were getting bleaker for the characters, would you say that being inattentive in a way was a little bit of a defensive mechanism to kind of protect yourself from the absolute fucking horror that these characters were going through?
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
No. I checked out, because I was like, I don't know where else this movie could go, and I don't know what else to expect. So, when things were coming up on the screen, I was like, oh, okay. So now he's there and he's in prison. No, he's in heaven withdrawal, and oh, he's lost his arm. Oh shit. So I was watching the movie because it was unfolding before me, but I wasn't drawn in to say, I want to know what happens to Harry. I want to know what happens to Sarah Goldfarb. I want to know what happens. I was not having those experiences.
Sure. Well, I've seen this movie more. I'm one of the maybe fucked up few or rare few that enjoys the feelings that movies like this evoke. Like I seek out this kind of experience.
And I could see that based on the movies that you've recommended in the past for previous episodes. So
I've got a track record.
So that doesn't surprise me in the least bit.
Well, I like a movie that makes me feel.
Sure.
Now, based off of that, I've seen this movie easily more than a dozen times. This is the most viewed movie on our list as of this time.
Interesting.
But as time has gone on, I'm less and less engaged, and I realized, especially during this viewing, that the first part is really not engaging at all. It's almost it's not repellent, but it's difficult
slow.
It's difficult to stay engaged because it's so slow and things are going so well.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of adversity. There's a lot of interesting character interactions,
and there's good character exposition, so you kind of get to know the people before they go on their downward spiral.
Yes.
So I can see why someone like Darren Aronofsky wanted to tell the story in that fashion, but they definitely could have condensed it.
What I could have used more of is interactions between Ty and Marion. Didn't get a lot of that.
Yeah, agreed.
But anyway, beside the point, this movie is still engaging to me. It's still very, very engaging to me. But as the years have gone on, as I viewed it more and more, it's less engaging to me as its effect is kind of wearing on me. It's not as impactful as it was on my 12th plus viewing.
Okay.
So while I was still engaged and it's less engaging to me now, I would put engagement factor for somebody viewing it for the first time, or maybe even the second, third time, depending on the level of movie watcher you are. I personally would rate this a 4.
Okay. Interesting. So
I'm more about the conversation, really, and the interest and the comparison of why the scores are the way they are between the two of us. I fucking love this.
I love it too, absolutely. And would you say that you know what? I'm actually going to invoke a take backsies.
Okay.
Because I've not done that yet. I actually want to. I'm going to take my music and sound. No, not my music and sound. I'm sorry, my uniqueness. I'm actually going to bump it up a little bit. I'm going to give it a 4.25 on uniqueness, mainly because I really did like the sort, or maybe I might want to give this bump to presentation, but there's something about the way the story was told, the artisanal side, or like just the artistic way and the camera angles and everything. I guess camera angles will be presentation, right? I want to give a bump.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, I guess the presentation. So I want to kick my presentation up to a 4.5 because I just really like the way it was presented. So that's my take backsies, and that is going to. I think that's going to do it.
Yeah, that's it.
The numbers are in.
Where we at?
Where do you think it lies? This is very it's kind of interesting.
It's interesting. I didn't think you're going to rate it as highly as you did, and I'm actually surprised at myself on how I rated it also.
Yeah.
Because I kind of look back on this with fondness and rose-colored glasses, and then when I watch it, I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
I feel it differently now. Yeah. So this is certainly not a number one.
No.
I'm not. I see that you're looking at the list right now. Mm-hmm. I would put this, based off of what we rated, probably top 5. If not top 5, then I'd say maybe just below, maybe a 6 or 7.
Okay.
No. I'm gonna say top 5. This is probably at least a 5 or 4.
Okay.
That's what it feels. That's what it feels like based off the ratings.
Yeah. Okay, well, here are the numbers for those that are wondering. And if you want to see the other numbers for the movies that we've rated, go to casualmovieclub.com, click on leaderboard, and it'll take you to the big old list of movies that we have reviewed. And you can click on the name of the movie to be taken to the episode that it corresponds to. Before I give the numbers here, I also want to let you know on our website we do have links to all of the different places where you can hear our podcast. So places like Apple Music, Apple Podcast, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. We're also over on Radio Public now as well. So greetings to those listening to us over there. We also now have merchandise available with a new design that we just uploaded just recently. We also have a Patreon account. Don't be afraid to be our first Patreon as well. We don't have anybody as of yet, but that's okay. If you want to be our first Patreon, even giving us as little as $1 a month or anything you can give us a month, we would absolutely love it because it'll just help us with keeping the content coming, keeping the podcast coming for you, keeping it hosted, keeping the lights on, all that good stuff. So anything you can do to help us out would be greatly, greatly appreciated. You can also reach out to us on social media at Casual Movie Club on Twitter and not Facebook. I keep wanting to say Twitter and Facebook. Maybe we need to sign up for Facebook. I don't know.
Not bad.
Twitter and Instagram at Casual Movie Club. You can also email us casualmovieclub@hotmail.com. There is a contact button on our website as well. You can even call us and leave us a voicemail or send us a text message to our unattended Google Voice number, because I know some folks are not gonna jump at the hat to call random podcasters, but if you do want to call us at some point, rest assured we will not pick up and put you on the spot. You can leave us a voicemail or send us a text message at the number that I never remember. Brian, what's that number?
You'll remember it eventually. That number is 402-882-2742. That is 402-882-2742. 2742. Again, voicemail or text message. We will not answer or respond to you directly, but we may, with your permission, of course, read or play your voicemail on an upcoming episode.
Exactly. Absolutely. And if you do, by the way, if you want to get involved with our merch, which I still need to get some merch stuff, but definitely take a picture of you if you got a shirt from us, if you get a phone case or anything. Take a picture of it, hashtag it, merch, and tweet us, tag us at Casual Movie Club. We'd love to see you repping your Casual Movie Club merchandise. So I have prolonged the numbers long enough. Here we go. The numbers for Requiem for a Dream here on Casual Movie Club. Acting 4.13, script 4. Presentation 4.5, music and sound 4, uniqueness 4, engagement factor 3.63, putting us for a total average score of 4.04. Marking this just above Darren Aronofsky's other movie that we did, The Wrestler.
Oh man, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, so top 10. Definitely top 10 movies on Casual Movie Club here.
It's like number 8 now.
I believe so, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's going to be number 9.
Oh, because
number 10 will be The Wrestler. Number 9, number 9 will be Requiem for a Dream. But
wow.
So the two Darren Aronofskys are together at the bottom of our top 10 list. But I feel good about where that is because there are some really movies that I think are a lot more appealing, a lot more kind of mainstream, movies that are kind of ranked higher than this. But this movie, the fact that it is closer to the bottom of the top 10 is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that we recommend it any less, because I would love to tell you to watch this movie as long as you know what you're getting into, kind of what we were talking about before. Know that you're getting into something that's really heavy, that's really kind of intense, but it's presented in a really beautiful way. It's presented with acting that is phenomenal, and a solid movie. So, even if it's something you only watch once, it's something I would say definitely watch it.
Yeah, I really recommend this movie. Also, even if you watch it just once, it is definitely worth your time. It's only an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Actually, credits are 4 minutes long, so it's
like an hour and 35.
Hour 30-some minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good movie.
Cool. So, should we talk about next week?
Let's talk about next week.
So, next week, is a bit of a special day.
It's a day where we will not be in the office.
That's right. Because one of us will be celebrating getting older.
A name day, a birthday, if you will.
So we have an episode ready to go for you guys where we talked about another movie that Brian suggested.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah, that's right. Classic horror, baby.
Right. Which I remember enjoying it, but we did when that was a Stephen King movie too, wasn't it?
It was a John Carpenter movie.
John Carpenter, that's right. We did The Thing.
Yes.
So The Thing is going to be coming out next week. So look for that. And of course, if you are a Patreon member, you'll have access to that on Wednesdays, but Thursdays for non-Patreon members. So if you do want to get access to our content earlier and get some other perks, check out our Patreon, which you can click on from our website. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to be back with my surprise movie, correct?
Yes, that's right. Do you know what you're doing?
I think so.
You think so?
I think so.
You have a couple in mind?
I do. Yeah, and it'll be interesting. So, for those unaware, we're doing 2 weeks of where we kind of announce the movies we're doing, and then we each get a surprise week. So, Brian surprised us the other day with
The Room.
With The Room,
or one of our lowest rate. I'm still shocked that The Craft is in last place.
I know,
but Dennis the Menace is still so high up.
I know. Why is
Persona? And Persona.
I know. So those were Brian's contributions, and then I did Mrs. Doubtfire as my first surprise movie. So, and that ranked top 10.
Number 8.
You know, I may have to pick something really bad, or maybe I'll pick something really good to kick Whiplash out of the top spot. I don't know, but we'll have to see what happens in 2 weeks. But next week, enjoy the episode we have for you on The Thing. It was a cool movie to watch. And then apart from that, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Awesome. Well, hey, you guys, we really appreciate you tuning in and being a part of the Casual Movie Club. Please feel free to share our podcast with anyone you know. Let them know that all are welcome in the Casual Movie Club. Everybody is welcome.
Everyone's welcome.
All people are welcome. All. Absolutely. And we'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.